call the regular scheduled meeting April 15, 2025 to order at 6:30 p.m. We have a quorum. We will be missing Alex Scanlon tonight. He had somewhere else he was going to be. We will say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Okay, we will start out with Councilman Ed Waters on our reports.
Okay, we had been talking about, cleaning the power lines off and doing that kind of work for hurricane season. Well, about 10 days ago when we had that rain and all that wind, it wasn't heavy rain, on our street in Dogwood, I got a call from one of my neighbors, and he said, would you look outside, what are we supposed to do? A limb had laid over the power line, and it was on fire. And it was blowing sparks across the street toward Randy's house. And if it hadn't been raining, we'd have had another fire that night. So I just ask y'all all to pay attention to the power lines, and if you need to call Mr. Cram about something that needs to be done, we need to get those lines cleared off so that we don't have another house fire, because we already lost one on Dogwood this year. So another thing is, I work at Home Depot, and they know I'm on council here, so they ask me from time to time things that we could do with the city. So they asked me about a veteran that we could do something for at their house, planting flowers and cleaning flower beds and stuff like that. And I thought about Patty and Larry McCaslin. They always work in the yard, but in the last couple of years, he's had pneumonia, was in the hospital for a long time. They both had COVID, and she hadn't been able to work in the yard. So this Friday, it looks like we're going to have about 10 volunteers to come over and clean the flower beds and replant and spread mulch to get her back in the mood of being out in the yard. So I really want to thank Home Depot for doing that.
Thank you, Ed, for sharing that. All right, Rick Fisher.
No report.
All right, Jeff Terrell.
No report this week.
All right, Amanda Fenwick.
Not to sound like a broken record, but this will be our last meeting before Election Day. There is an election, again, not here in the city of Clear Lake Shores, but Galveston County has an election. There's 3 propositions for bonds. There's all different kinds of places you can find information on those bonds. Prop A does include potential funding for a new bridge, the entrance to our island. Early voting, and then there's a Clear Creek ISD election, position or District 1, as well as at-large position B. Again, there's all different kinds of places you can find information on those candidates. There is a forum Thursday night, I believe, that the League City Chamber is hosting. Early voting starts Tuesday, runs through the 29th, and then Election Day is May 3rd. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I had the absolute honor to attend the Clear Creek ISD Partnership Breakfast last week. The City of Clear Lake Shores was recognized as a Partner of the Year for our support of the Leader in Me program over at Stewart. And we were gifted this bat. The theme was a baseball theme, and so it was very well done, the whole event. But we got to hear from various students from throughout the district. They held a press conference at the event, and we got to hear from those students, and then there was reporters in the audience asking them questions about their experience with the Leader in Me program. If you don't know anything about the Leader in Me program, Peyton's probably the better one to ask, but it is based off of Stephen Covey's 7 Habits, and so various things like sharpening the saw and a win-win, and how students they learn those skills and those traits throughout school. Not every school in the district is a Leader in Me school, but the district has a goal of being a Leader in Me district by 2030. But this bat was made by students at Clear Creek High School on a machine that they received a Clear Creek Education Foundation grant from. Anyway, I just want to thank the council for supporting the Leader in Me program, This obviously didn't happen without your support. So, and then I just want to recognize the district for all that they do. We are very fortunate to live in the Clear Creek ISD district. So that's my report, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Thank you for bringing that back up, that we were out of that program for a while and spearheading that to bring it back. We are proud to be a sponsor. My report, I want to just say that Cheryl's worked very hard. The application for the boat ramp has opened up for the construction. So we got news of that last week. Cheryl worked very hard to get us reimbursed for the first part of that, which was all the design and everything. Now we finally got the application. She's worked very hard in my absence the last week, been on vacation, and had all the answers for me as soon as I got back this morning. That application is almost complete, should be completed this week and turned in this week. So with that said, we're trying to be proactive, and we are going to write an RFP. We're going to try to get that out to bid and have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed, so when they do approve that, and right now they're saying that the funding is there. So when that happens, we want to be ready to pull the trigger quickly. We don't want to wait, do all of that at the end. We're going to be very proactive. So Mike and Cheryl have been working on that. I appreciate both of you taking care of that.
Mayor, can I add something to that?
Yes.
I have, speaking with regards to the funding, I have seen Cindy Butcher from Greg Bonin's office, Dr. Bonin's office, several times over the last few weeks, and every time I have seen her, she has either asked me a question about the funding, the cost, what the issues have been, and so I do want to just add on to that, this is, I don't want to say a priority, but this is on Representative Bonin's radar to make sure that funding for this is included in the budget, which the House just passed its version of the budget last week, and so that was part of the urgency behind Cindy contacting me and mentioning it to me every time I see her, because she wanted us to know that she wanted to understand the cost, and for us to know that Dr. Bonin has that on his radar.
Yeah, so my screaming and hollering might have worked. Thank you for that report, and thank you for communicating with her on that. I'm going to go ahead and talk about the bond also. So I have been in contact with Darrell Apple, our county commissioner here in Clear Lake Shores. He is he's been very open with me about this election. There has been, Amanda's even brought it to my attention that there's people out there going, oh, you know, just because they say it's not going to cost anyone any taxes, there's some hidden this, there's no hidden anything. This is the real deal. This is something that they're going to pay for out of their investments, and they already have the money. By the time they sell the bonds and do what they're going to do, it's going to be a zero additional tax to all citizens in Galveston County for all three of these bonds. So help me help us by offering people rights. Tell people not to forget to vote. This is so very important. Otherwise, we're going to have to spend a lot of money out of our kitty to fix that bridge, because it's necessary. So this is one way that we can help us help ourselves, and all we got to do is go vote. I did, with some of those comments that were brought to my attention, I did ask Darrell if he would come down here and speak to the citizens, and he is more than happy to do that. So his slate is pretty busy this week. We talked about sometime during or by the 28th that we would open up this building to all citizens, and he will come down and he will have a Q&A with all of the citizens that have questions about how this bond works and or, you know, anything about it, honestly. So that's coming, and I will have Teresa put that out as soon as I can get that answer from him. So he should let me know later this week what day and time that's going to be. We'll probably do it in the evening, so those of you that work, you know, can be here. We want everybody that has questions to be here to get those questions answered. So please help support that cause. It will help our city. The other thing I want to do is congratulate our now two-time nationally award-winning CFO, Cheryl Hunter. The city of Clear Lake Shores has never won that award. Cheryl has now put in for that national award twice and won it both times she's applied for it for her budget. She does an outstanding budget. Her I's are dotted, her T's are crossed. She did not get any dings whatsoever on her budget this last time, and I would like to give her a hand. With that said, the only thing I wanted to add to mine that I didn't have was with the trees. Get with Mike. Mike's already been in contact with Centerpoint. They will be coming to the island at some point. They will be taking some trees out of the power lines, being proactive. I think from the past storm, we had a lot of issues with trees, so they got a lot of criticism during the last storm, Centerpoint did, and I think they're trying to make up for that and do right. So they were the ones proactive before hurricane season to contact Mike and say they're coming. I don't know when that is. I'll let Mike speak to that. And with that said, I'll end my report and turn it over to David Donaldson.
Mayor, Council, the only thing I have working this week is we're doing a special detail with loss prevention from Target. It's going to be all week long, zero tolerance for theft. So you're going to see us out there a lot. Probably won't be on the island so much. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. City Administrator Mike Cram?
Before I get started, Mayor, did you want to talk about the Clear Creek channel drainage issue?
Oh, yes. That is something I had made a small note of and forgot to mention. So there are two meetings that I'm going to be going to. I want to say that Tom Klebsey over in Seabrook has been very active about this. There has been lots of studies upwards of Clear Creek. I don't know if all of you know it, but Clear Creek starts over on 288 in the Beltway. It makes its way all the way down here. There has been a lot of activity going on over the last several years. There have been a lot of projects going on over the last several years with them trying to get drainage down here to us in the lake, because that's where it's going to end up going. Part of the problem I see with some of that is they're concreting a lot of these ditches that were natural ditches. So to me, they're fast-tracking the water to Clear Lake Shores area and the whole lake, to be honest. Tom has been very active to get them to try to show him the reports. As of right now, there's no report this side of I-45 on what that's going to do to us, for us, or against us. Around the lake, we as mayors believe that's not good for us. That's just going to make our water rise because they're trying to save people up north. Tom and I both are going to two meetings. There's a council of mayor meetings that I go to every month. That's going to be on the 23rd. Hank Doogie is working with some of these individuals on trying to come up with a plan where it doesn't impact the lake down here. He's very vocal about that. They do have some options. It's expensive. It's almost like a mini Ike Dike, if you will. So I don't know where they're going to go with that, but I'm going to be present. There's another one on the 24th where they say they're going to bring some of that information of how it's going to impact the lake over in Pearland. I plan to attend that too, so we can find out how that affects us down here. Thanks for bringing that up, Mike.
So for my report, let me touch on the trees first, since it's been mentioned a couple of times. I met with an actual representative from Centerpoint's Forestry Division today. He came out to the island. We rode around in the golf cart. One of the trees he noted, and he will be contacting the homeowner on Dogwood. I think it's probably the palm tree you were referring to that was arcing. He picked up on that one right away, and he's going to follow up because that one's actually on private property. But the trees that are in the rights-of-way especially, we're going to be communicating with them. He's already picked out a couple here on Clear Lake Road that they're probably going to be addressing in short order. The problem we have, they come out every 5 to 6 years and they trim trees. And he said when he came out today that it's not in as bad a shape as he's seen it in some years past, but some of these trees need obviously to be addressed. And so we'll be working with them, as the mayor said, in the coming weeks. If if you're a homeowner and you have an issue with something that's on private property, God forbid if we actually go on a private property and trim the tree inadvertently, that's accidental. You should be contacted first. Nobody should be on your property to trim trees unless you've been contacted. However, if they do go up into the power lines, those are center points power lines, and if they feel they need to be trimmed from the street, they'll trim them. If you have an issue with it, feel free to call me at the office, send me an email, whatever, but let me know about it, and I'll see what I can do to mitigate any damages or stress. Been working with Galveston County. They asked if we wanted to participate in the development of the all hazards plan for the county. We currently are a participant in that. Most of the smaller agencies in the area are, for sure. That participation actually opens up a lot of extra FEMA money that we would qualify for. If we don't participate in that plan, it's an automatic disqualifier for some FEMA funds. So we will be participating in that again. We're working with our with Upright, our technology provider, to try to come up with a better solution for internet internet services that we have. We have repeated issues with the internet going down. That impacts obviously not just the administrative issues around the city, but it's a really big issue when it affects public safety. And you know, everything in this day and age, if you don't have an internet connectivity, these guys can't upload or download files to the Galveston County. They have, you know, we have officers that have to sit in and sit there and watch stuff try to upload to the county system for a while. And so our system right now is really slow. Our service is meek, and we're trying to bolster that up. We're also trying to see if they can package something like a Starlink so that if we do have a storm, we have some sort of satellite backup that's more immediately available. If everybody remembers Beryl, you couldn't make a phone call, and it's not because the towers were down, it's because everybody was on them. They were just overloaded. Well, we need a backup system that will allow the police to talk to each other in the event we have an actual, you know, big event. So we're working toward that end. Jorge and Odie will be washing and cleaning up some of the facilities out at Depot Park this week. We got them a pressure sprayer today in advance of the upcoming sunrise service for Sunday, so we want to make it look pretty nice out there. Other than that, I think, Mayor, you and Council covered everything else I had.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mike. We'll move on to Roads and Drainage Committee. Is there a report? Anyone here from Roads and Drainage?
Yeah, evening. We, well, thank you for saying that thing about the bond election, because that's saving us potentially $1.5 million for the new bridge. And we don't have to fix the other one in the meantime, which is why we are now been focusing on doing Narcissus, the drainage, and the rebuild, well, not rebuild, but at least a mill and overlay, and some places we're going to do full depth reclamation. In the meantime, while we're going to go out with bids pretty soon, right?
So right now, there's two stages to Narcissus. One is a preliminary study for needs so that we have a full design package, and we're working with Colliers. Alex and I have been working with Colliers to finalize that so we can get that started to see exactly what we need. Before we can get it started, we have to come up with a survey that has specific points for the construction planning. So that's the first phase, and as soon as we have that, then we'll know where we need to go after that for an RFP and actually get the construction done.
And in the meantime, we are trying to knock out some of the outstanding hotspots. We have some maintenance issues to take care of. That's pretty much island-wide.
Okay.
That's all. Our next meeting is Thursday next week.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Parks Committee?
Hello. Mike pretty much stole what I was going to say, but yeah, I know. We're just working at Depot to get it ready for Sunday service, and I wanted to thank Jorge, Odie, and Mike for helping, working with us to do some of the heavy lifting, as well as the clubhouse. We've been working on bringing in some fresh soil that had eroded over the years, so we really appreciate their help with using their trucks and equipment to help save our backs. So thank you so much for that, and we're meeting tomorrow 10:30 a.m. for our April meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mary. I do want to compliment you guys on your hard work. It looks good out here, and the flip-flops look pretty nice over there in front of the pool. All that work was for a good cause. Thank you for all that. Waterfront compliance.
Nothing from waterfront.
Okay. We are still waiting on y'all's tags, just so you know. Planning and zoning.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Planning and Zoning has no activity to report. Zoning Board of Adjustments, we have received a request for a variance at 306 Maple for minimum yards, and that meeting has been scheduled right now for May 19th at 6 p.m.
May 19th,
Yes, sir. 6 p.m. here in the clubhouse.
and it's for minimum yard.
Yes, 306 Maple.
Thank you.
That's all.
All right. Civic Club report.
Hi, I'm Joanna Vincenti. I'm the treasurer of Civic Club. Couple things this weekend coming up. We have the annual egg hunt, where the kids of Clear Lake Shores, it's just for local kids. It's not open to the general public, or we prefer it not be. They'll get to meet the Easter Bunny, enjoy outdoor games. It's from 11 to 1 p.m. at Jarbo, and Jenny Hardcastle is in charge of that. She's been doing a great job of making sure the Easter eggs are stuff. She filled 1,000 Easter eggs over the last few days, so.
Is there any money in them? I'm just curious.
No, Randy. I don't know. I doubt it. Also, Sunday morning, of course, is the Easter sunrise service, 6:30 a.m. So, and then last thing, Steak and Sinatra is coming up. We have about 50 seats will be available. We were talking about pricing today, so we're not exactly sure how much it'll cost yet, but it'll go up this weekend. So you can get your reservations in as quickly as possible when we post it. It's coming up on May 17th. Yeah. Oh no, May 10th. Sorry, May 10th. So, and that's always fun. So, and we'll have a Sinatra singer, correct, Rick? Sinatra singer. He's coming back to go with our steaks. So, that's about it.
Okay.
Oh, and we need a vice president if anybody wants to be vice president.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanna, is that something we need Teresa to put out there for you guys, or?
If she wants to, it's fine. I mean, the people we've tried to get to do it are not willing to do it. So, but if somebody wants to be vice president, basically they're basically in charge of membership. So it's not a huge job. It just requires you to have a few computer skills and some computer access so you can manage stuff.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Moving on, economic development.
Yeah, we're still getting, well, Cheryl is helping us getting the finance together for the boat ramp and what's happening there. It's a little bit of a moving target, but we'll get there. The development at 770 Marina Bay Drive is put on hold. They may rekindle it later on, but for now it's off. They realized that the budget was too low to redo the property. In the meantime, we're talking to the agent representing part of the Drawer family for the 14.5 acres behind Home Depot. I was just talking to him today, so we're hopeful we can marry them up with some developer that we met at another EDC meeting. So yeah, at least we're trying.
Okay,
That's
that
it.
sounds good.
Next meeting is May 13th.
All right. Thank you, Thomas. Public comments. At this time, any person with city-related business may speak to the city council. If the topic of discussion is related to an item on the agenda, the comments may be made now or at the time the agenda item is discussed. If the topic of discussion is not related to an item on the agenda, the city council cannot deliberate or take any action at this time. Comments from the public should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per individual. There'll be no yielding of time. Is there anyone that would like to address the city council?
Mary Cooney, 930 Elm. I just have an announcement on behalf of the blood drive, MD Anderson blood drive that's coming up. It's May 2nd, 2 to 7. That's a Friday. Like always, 2 to 7 p.m. We just encourage everybody to donate. It's in honor of Carrie Kelly, a dear friend of the island, and she brought this here many years ago. So there will be information coming out with the link to sign up, book your appointment this week. So just be looking for that. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. Anyone else like to address the council? Okay. Having none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Item A, B, and C. D and E. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E.
Okay. Motion by Rick.
I'll second.
Second by Jeff. Any discussion on any of those items? All in favor? Okay, motion passes. Going to item 10, new business. Discussion and possible action may be taken on the following items. A, review and approve the employee personnel policy. City Administrator Mike Cramp.
Thank you, Mayor. So this policy has been a long time in the works. Christy did a lot of work on it to start it up. She reached out and did a lot of research to get sample policies from other entities as well. And then she and I worked together to kind of head in a direction to finalize it. I sent it out to council for comment, I guess, about a month and a half ago. About a month before that, I sent it out to the employees internally. I guess, what about 2-3 weeks ago, we met with the employees, and we all met on a Friday and spent about 3 hours going over every detail of it. There were some final amendments to it that are in the red line copy you have. Nothing major, but if council will entertain me, I would like to go over the final amendments just because they weren't not sent to you in your original copy. It shouldn't take long. The first change was in 3.04 under comp time, and what we did was put in a limit of 40 hours, which already existed, but we didn't have anything in there to address what happens if you work overtime and you already have 4 hours of comp time. So we just added verbiage to say that will be paid as overtime. You won't be able to accrue any comp time beyond 40 hours. Moving on to 5.04, we had in there that all gifts or favors must be registered with the city secretary's office if they meet or exceed $10. I think that's an antiquated amount. We actually changed that to $25. There's not much you can get in the world these days for $10.
Mike, isn't there a state law that says it's 50?
You know, I'm not sure. I'd have to check that amount
Yeah,
if
let's
it's by
just
state
check,
law.
just check
But,
that, because the state law might cover that. for
Well,
us.
I'm more comfortable with 25 than 50, though. But I'll check.
Okay.
The next thing was actually full vote against the city administrator, and that was under the dress code, where I had put a prohibition against wearing tennis shoes on any day except Friday, and even the mayor chimed in on that one and voted against me, so we removed the athletic shoes from prohibited attire. Don't clap.
You had to add that part, didn't you?
Yeah, I caved. I was unanimously outvoted boisterously. 6.03 was the next one, unexcused absence, or I'm sorry, 6.04 holidays. We added Good Friday. That one had been left off. Under vacation leave, I had forgotten, I think, to put in there that we currently, and I think this is kind of draconian, we don't allow employees to even begin accruing vacation or sick time until they've been here 6 months. And it's not uncommon that there's a restriction on use of vacation leave in your first 6 months, but to not allow an employee to begin accruing sick leave or vacation upon hire seems antiquated at best. We hire our employees, we expect them to be career employees, but we don't show that we have any investment in them until they've been here for 6 months. We're an at-will hire state. You have no right to work in the state of Texas. You can be fired with or without reason at any time. So the old thing about you're on probation for 6 months, that used to be in existence all the time in some cities and especially in civil service entities. That's the main place that exists now. In most entities, it doesn't necessarily exist because you don't need it. But it seemed to me that it's just not a fair expectation that we would expect the employees to be dedicated upon hire, but we're not going to be dedicated to them. So I'm asking council to approve us beginning those accruals on the date of hire for both vacation and sick leave.
Mike, wasn't there something we talked about with Cheryl as far as that new employee also having to take off, say, one of our employees had to take off for some surgery?
I'm going to get to that.
They were hired.
Yeah, I'm going to get to that.
Okay.
So the next thing was workers' compensation, 6.11. So I've heard horror stories about an employee here a few years ago that worked for the police department who was injured on duty, who was only paid a portion of his salary, the portion that workers' comp pays. And the city did take care of the employee by paying the insurance contribution and that kind of stuff. I've talked to Christy about that, and yeah, we didn't get paid back for that. But when nobody's getting rich working for a city, and if somebody gets injured, and we had an employee injured a month ago working for the city not to invest in some sort of at least making sure the person is kept whole financially to a degree, it just seems remiss on the city's part. Most of that salary already gets paid by insurance and workman's comp, but it's not 100%. So what I'm asking council to consider is that we pay that remaining portion only to the point that the workers' comp plus whatever contribution the city pays only equals the normal pay. Nothing excessive beyond that. And that we still have the proviso in there, and Dick, I think you wrote this in there, that if we did decide to pay for any insurance or anything like that to take up those payments for the employee, that we would recoup those upon return to work as a garnishment from wages. The next thing was 9.02, the grievance procedure. For some reason I don't know how it happened. I took out the language when I was writing it, I guess, for if there's a grievance against me, it has to go to the mayor. Thankfully, the mayor caught that when we met with the employees, and that has been added back in there. And then finally in 14.03, reimbursement of expenses. That section called for per diem rates, and after speaking with the finance director and based on basically how we've grown accustomed to handling things, we reimburse for receipts versus advanced per diem rates up to and only to the per diem rate. So we just changed it from basically per diem reimbursements to reimbursement for receipts that the employee brings in and submits with the travel reconciliation. And then if I can ask one consideration of council as you give consideration to approving this entirety. Any employee who's been here for more than 6 months but less than 2 years, I would ask that council allow us to go back and make their accruals whole for that first 6 months of their employment, meaning, so your first year here, we show that an employee, once hired through 4 years, is entitled to 2 weeks of vacation a month, or a year, sorry, 2 weeks of vacation a year. But in reality, you got to work here a year to get 1 week of vacation. And in this day and age, that doesn't really work. And additionally, working for a city is not necessarily easy. Most of the people that work here hear a lot of complaints. You need to take a break from that every now and then, and because everybody has to put on a smiley face every day, that takes some commitment. And I fall back on my earlier statement that we are expecting our employees to be committed, but we're not showing that reciprocation. And so what I'm asking council to consider is those employees who've been here more than 6 months but less than 2 years, have those accruals retroactively added, that basically for whatever that first 6 months would have been, whether the sick leave is at 5 hours per pay period and the 40 hours of vacation. And then if an employee has been here less than 6 months, consider going back and giving them those accruals only that they would have earned since their date of hire for both sick leave and vacation. And yeah, we had, shortly before I came on board, we had a newly hired employee who had to go out with emergency surgery. And she's a great employee, and gets her job done, causes no stress. She's a good person to work with. But she had to go into a no-pay status for that entire time. And newly hired employees are typically your lowest paid employees. And so when you take their paycheck away from them, but expect them to come to return to work with a commitment, I think you tarnish that. And so that's my spiel. Those are my feelings. If council doesn't feel the same way, I completely understand. This isn't coming from the employees, this is coming from me. So it's my request, not theirs. But I would ask you to give some consideration to that request.
Okay, is that all you had on that, Mike?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mike about the employee policy?
So I have a question on under compensation 3.01. It says employees have the option of earning overtime pay or compensatory time if working more than 40 hours in a work week. Do we need to define that as non-exempt employees? Because later on down under 3.04, we say non-exempt employees working more than 40 hours in a work week are eligible for comp time. So, or is it that all employees, whether you're exempt or non-exempt?
No, exempt
because
employees.
Because it's only non-exempt employees that can earn
non-exempt
overtime. So do we need to define that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's 3.01 you said?
Uh-huh.
So, Mike, I do have a question for you. The part about
3.01, Amanda? Or was it
We need a motion to discuss that.
Pay cycle and paycheck?
you can't. Or you can do that. You can do either way.
Well, let's do it the right way. Let's have a motion on the table before we discuss, okay? So would somebody like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the employee personnel policy.
Okay. Got a
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Ed, got a second.
Okay, yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I think at this point, they're going to discuss some of that, and that motion's probably going to change. with some amendments. That would be my guess. Okay. Now we got a motion on the table. You got a question, Rick?
Yeah, Mike, you were talking about the employees with less than 6 months, about going ahead and retroactively giving them the sick time and accrual and everything. Is that already here in the policy, or does that need to be added to it?
No, that's separate and apart from policy.
Okay.
That would just be included in a motion to include that as I don't know if we can, Dick. It's just an authorization more than anything else, because it's not part of policy. It's an individual authorization. Because if the policy is approved, then moving forward, that'll be the case anyway. They'll begin accruing upon hire. If that's something I need to put in an agenda item and bring back at a separate meeting, that's fine too.
But, I mean, if the policy gets approved and the policy says that the accrual starts from the date of hire, then I think that's fine. That's adequate, that you can then enforce that particular policy without specifically having for them to. You're talking about if there's an employee that's somewhere in that's hired within the first 6 months?
Well, we have that, but I was asking to consider employees that have been here less than 2 years, because they didn't earn anything for basically a quarter of the time they've been here if they've been here 2 years. And then anybody who's been here less than 6 months is only going to accrue what they've accrued. I mean, if they've only been here 2 or 3 weeks, that's all they would have been able to accrue.
I think you could add a sentence in there that says that it applies retroactively to any employee that's less than 2 years at the time the policy is adopted.
I can do that.
Okay, Mike, you had a question for Amanda at that 3.01?
She clarified it for me.
Oh, okay. All right. Any more questions?
Y'all, good job. I can't even imagine. I mean, I know it took me a couple days to read it, so for y'all to sit and go through it in an afternoon,
That's a lot
really
of
good
work.
job.
Just to be clear on the motion, I want to make sure that, are you stating that the motion is to approve as amended? Because it looks like we've made a couple of amendments here. Okay.
So
And is that a
I think
second
you need to
to that?
change your motion. Ed,
Okay.
just amend your motion.
Yep. I make a motion that we approve the employee personnel plan with the revisions stated.
Okay.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Ed, got a second by Rick. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimous. We will move on to the next subject. Amend procurement records related to the purchase of historical marker from the Texas Historic Commission to reflect that the marker refers to the history of the city versus a designation of the clubhouse as a historic landmark. Mike Grant.
This is really a bookkeeping issue, especially for Cheryl, for anything that would have had to do with procurement. We just want to make sure our records are accurately reflecting what actions were taken and what documents were signed for approval of the purchase.
Okay. We have a motion on item B.
I'll make a motion to amend the procurement records related to the purchase of the historical marker to reflect that the marker is the history of the city versus a designation of the clubhouse as a historic landmark.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Rick, got a second by Amanda. Any discussion? All in favor? The motion passes unanimously. We'll move to item C. Ordinance 2025-03, an ordinance adopting amendment number 2 to the approved budget of the City of Clear Lake Shores, Texas for the fiscal year 24, increasing the amounts and expenditures accounts of the general fund due to unforeseen situations, containing findings, providing for severability, and providing other details relating thereto. City Administrator, Mike Grant.
I will defer to the award-winning CFO.
Basically, this budget amendment just cleans up fiscal 2024. Of course, fiscal 2024 closed on 9/30/2024. We start our audit at the end of the month, and so we need to have all these items cleaned up. Basically, it's very within departments was, we just moved money where budgets were under, we moved them to over. So a lot of those departments netted out to zero. It was a positive impact on the budget, so overall that amendment was, and it's just to prepare it for audit at the end of the month.
Okay. Thank you, Cheryl. We have a motion on that item?
I'll make a motion we approve item C, ordinance 2025-03.
Okay, got a motion by Jeff,
I'll second that.
a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. We'll move on to item D. Resolution 2025-03, a resolution adopting the investment policy of the City of Clear Lake Shores, Texas. Mike Cram.
Cheryl?
So this is the annual review of the investment policy required by the Public Funds Investment Act. There's been no changes. It's the same as last year, but it's just a matter of formality that we have to adopt it every year. The council has to review and approve it.
Okay, now a motion.
I should have a question on that.
Got to make the motion first.
Got to make a motion.
Well, no, we have two ordinance 2025-03s.
The same number, so just,
Yeah, they get the same. I guess one's an ordinance and one's a resolution. So we're all good on
One's
that?
an ordinance and one's a resolution,
Okay.
yes.
Well, in that case, I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 2025-03.
that was confusing. I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Rick, got a second by Amanda. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimous. We'll move on to item E, Resolution 2025-04, a resolution of the City of Clear Lake Shores stating that the city is desirous of providing for the construction of a boating access facility on East Shore Drive at Shell Bottom Park through the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department for funding of the project. So originally, we had a resolution that council had to approve for us to go after this funding for the first part of this, and then this is the one for the second part of that contract.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2025-04.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Amanda, got a second by Jeff. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion passes unanimous. We'll move down to item F, Resolution 2025-05, a resolution setting a date, time, and place for a public hearing on the proposed annexation of certain property by the City of Clear Lake Shores, Texas, and authorizing and directing the mayor to publish notice of such public hearing, Drawer Road, 20-day notice. Mike Cram.
So can I defer to the city attorney for this one? These are just simple requirements administratively for the process.
Yeah, that's correct. There are two public hearings that we need to set. That's why there's going to be two resolutions in a row. One's given notice at least 40 days prior to the time that we're going to annex the road into the city. The other one is at least 20 days notice, so that we have these public hearings in time. There's a timeline that we have to abide by, get it approved and annexed within that 90-day time period. Once it's annexed, then you have to adopt a service plan for that within the next, I believe it's within 2 years after that point. But this is the preliminary steps to go ahead and authorize moving forward with the annexation of that road. The city has an agreement with the county that the city will actually annex that road, so that's why we're moving forward with this annexation at this time.
Okay, thank you, Dick. We have a motion on that item?
I make a motion that we approve Resolution 2025-05.
Okay, got a motion by Ed,
I'll second.
got a second by Amanda. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. We'll move down to item G, Resolution 2025-06, a resolution setting a date, time, place for public hearing on the proposed annexation of certain property by the City of Clear Lake Shores, Texas, and authorizing and directing the mayor to publish notice of such public hearing, Drawer Road, 40-day notice. You want me to go ahead and defer that to Dick for you?
That'll work.
Hey, Dick, you're up.
Yeah, this is the second hearing notice, so we're actually going to have one public hearing. I believe it's on May 6th, and the second one will be on July 3rd.
June.
So, sorry, it should have been June 3rd, you're correct.
So May 6th and June 3rd.
Yeah, May 6th and June 3rd, they'll both be at 6:30. It'll be here in the community center.
Thank you, Dick. We have a motion on that item.
Okay, I'll make a motion we approve Resolution 2025-06.
Okay, we got a motion by Jeff,
I'll second that.
got a second by Ed. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimous. That'll bring us down to item H. Authorize the city administrator or city secretary to notify all interested parties of the commencement of the annexation procedures and future public hearings to be held on May 6, 2025 and June 3rd, 2025.
Yeah, so the law requires that you have to notify, the city needs to notify all the utilities that would be involved in this particular road adoption. So this is essentially authorizing the city administrator or the city secretary, either one of them, to go ahead and give these notices out. I've sent them the form letters that need to be sent out. We'll send them out as long as, as soon as this gets approved, and that will move towards the annexation process.
So Christie already has a list of those providers. Additionally, we'll have to have a public meeting on it, and the information the attorney provided says that the state requires you to have it on the location it's going to be annexed. If that's possible, well, all we're annexing is a roadway right-of-way that has a ditch on each side. So obviously, we're not going to hold the meeting there. Instead, Christie has arranged that we'll hold the meeting here in the clubhouse.
Yeah, that's correct. You can do it in the clubhouse because we're not going to have a meeting out on the road. It'd be a little logistically hard to do.
We'll just gather in the new parking lot.
You could do that.
So, we have a motion on that item.
Now I'll make a motion that we authorize the city administrator or the city secretary to notify all interested parties of the commencement of the annexation process, future public hearings to be held on May 6, 2025 and June 3rd, 2025.
Okay, got a motion by Rick,
I'll second.
got a second by Amanda. All in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimous. I think Mike could have just put city secretary because I believe he just deemed her the one who's going to do it. Just saying.
She's already done it.
Item I, authorize the city administrator to apply for hazard mitigation grant funding to retrofit or to refit the existing city hall building to conform to current windstorm construction standards or to construct a hardened safe room facility on city-owned property. Mike, I'll let you speak about this.
So we met, we had a conference call, Zoom meeting, whatever, with FEMA and TDM representatives. And we had Colliers present as well. And so what the FEMA grants representative actually told us to do, came flat out and told us, is they do not build buildings, city halls, that kind of thing. What they do is build safe rooms. And those safe rooms can accommodate more than just daily use of a safe room. But she recommended that we go about it in two phases, that we first apply for money for the study and the design and that kind of like we did with the boat ramp.
Yes.
And that we do it for two different projects, one for the safe room and one for a retrofitting of City Hall to actually bring it into compliance with hurricane wind standards. She said we had a better chance of getting approved for one of them if we did it that way. And so we'll do that first. If we're approved for that grant, just like the boat ramp, it's 100% reimbursable. That portion of it, the application portion, the design, all of that is 100% reimbursable. The second stage of it, if they say they approve a safe room, the construction, actual, all that for the project of the safe room is typically a 75-25. So if this comes through, we have the possibility of only having to pay for 25% of whatever goes through, whether it's the design and build of a hardened facility that we can actually return to after a storm that'll still be here, or a retrofitting of City Hall.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Do we have a motion for that item?
I'll make a motion that we authorize the city administrator to apply for hazard mitigation grant funding to refit the existing City Hall building to confirm to current windstorm construction standards or to construct a hardened safe room facility on city-owned property.
Okay, got a motion by Ed,
I'll second.
got a second by Jeff. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimous. We will adjourn at 7:20.